Hey friends, are you ready? Welcome back to the episode 8 of our weekly videos. Enjoy!
Hi! How are you? How's your day going? Are you like me? That asks like a lot of questions but can't seem to find the answer to? Don't worry, have faith. Because we're from the Surrey, Filipino Seventh-day Adventist Church Children's Ministries. We're together with loving Christians. We learn to love Christ and love like Christ and be happy.
My Bible question, how is God everywhere?
Okay, so your question is, how is God everywhere? Okay, there's a couple ways to address this question. Answer number one is, the word you're looking for is, how is God omnipresent, everywhere at the same time? How can he do this? And the simple answer is, he is spirit. He is metaphysical. He is not created. He is the creator. He has nature that we do not currently have, right? Like we can't be everywhere at once, but God can be everywhere at once. Now, the question can also be, how did the idea of God being omnipresent develop? Because early on in the Bible, you have people doubting that God can be everywhere at once, or people wrestling with the idea that God can be everywhere at once. How can he be the God of Israel and be with them when they're in the captivity in Egypt? Or how can he be the God in the people or in Judea, and also be a God when they're captured in Babylon? And so on and so forth. So how did God become omnipresent? How did we come to the understanding of God being omnipresent? And we see this a couple times in the Bible, where you have people like, I believe it's Ezekiel, who looks up in the sky and says, "Look, I see the chariot of the Lord riding with the people of Israel," when they were captured and taken away from their hometown, because for a long time they believed that the presence of God only sat in specific places. Think about the Ark of the Covenant, which they carried into battle, and as they brought it in, they were bringing the presence of the Lord with them, right? Or in the temple, when the lights were lit, they believed that the presence of the Lord was inside the temple. So when they no longer had a temple, the question came up, where is God? And the people were really wrestling with this. How could we still worship God if we're not in a situation where we have a temple? So you have characters like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Esther, these characters who are living during the time of the captivity, wrestling with the idea of, oh my goodness, if God is not literally, if there's not a temple for us to literally worship at, can we still see God there? And even before that, you have prophets like Amos who's saying, yes, God is the God of Israel, but you don't notice that God is also the God of many nations all over. They might not know him by name, but God is working with them. So, as the Israelites got to continue their relationship with God, and they realized that God's blessing upon Israel, as special as it was to go to the entire world, they start seeing how God is working even outside of the boundaries that they had imagined, right? And it's also really brought up with, for example, Jesus. When Jesus shows up, he doesn't just stick with one group of people. He's helping foreigners. He's helping the people who everyone thinks have no business with God. While Jesus, of course, came as a man and was very much present in one place, his influence was reaching everyone, and that was what he was doing in his demonstration. So, the simple answer: how is God omnipresent? He is spirit. He can flow, he can be there, he can be with us at all times. And one of the reasons why and one of the demonstrations of that we see is throughout the Bible, God can be working with people from completely different ends and working with them to bring about something great. So, yeah, that is my answer. I hope that answers your question, though.
If God made the whole universe, how big is it?
Simple answer to your question. How big can God be if he created the entire universe? The simple answer is this: as big as he needs to be. You see, God is not, once again, limited to our mindset or our physics or our world, right? He can be as big as a mountain. He can be as small as a molecule. He can do whatever he needs to do because he is not bound by those rules, right? So in creating the universe, God didn't need to be big or small or any specific size. What he needed to be is there, to call it into existence and to say, let there be light, and start everything going. So, how big is God? Well, God is as big as he needs to be.
Come to think about it, what happens when you die? Is your mind just full of darkness? Or is it just dead? I want to know. Maybe you go to heaven. No, I don't know until you actually die.
What happens when we die? So, in the Bible, specifically in the book of Ecclesiastes, we find King Solomon kind of wrestling with the idea of what happens when we die. Well, not really. He's kind of really depressed. He's sad. He's miserable. He has everything he ever wanted, and it's worth nothing. Because he knows someday he's going to die. And after saying a line along the lines of that a living dog is better than a dead lion, he goes off and says these immortal words in Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 5. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. And for a lot of people, that's kind of shocking, because a lot of people think, oh, when you die, you go to heaven, or when you die, you go to hell, or something. But it seems as if the biblical authors, specifically in the Old Testament, were very careful in mentioning that while they do believe in a place for people to go, that place is generally the grave. However, they did believe that your spirit went back to God. They did not believe, however, that your spirit was like a living consciousness going up there and doing stuff. Instead, many Jews and many Hebrews believed the idea that someday a Messiah would show up, resurrect everybody, and get them ready to create the new world. Okay? We as Christians have inherited those beliefs, and we have it further brought up about Jesus when he talks about resurrection day. He talks about the coming of himself and how we will be with him at the end of time. And, of course, the new heaven and the new earth, right? So when going through that, we believe that, of course, when you die, nothing. Kaput. We're done. But that's not the end. The beauty of the resurrection is just as Christ came back from the dead, we believe that Jesus will resurrect everyone, no matter what happened to them. So, yeah, for you and me, it will be boom. Just like you were before you were born. Right? Before you were born, you didn't have memories or anything like that. And then after you die, same deal. There won't be anything. You won't feel it. There won't be anything going on. Instead, what will happen is the next face you see will be the face of your Savior at the end of when Jesus returns. So, yeah, that is our basic breakdown of what happens when you die. So thank you.
See you next week. Bye.